What's up, everybody? Couch Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Valorant video. And in this video, we're going to be breaking down the top settings so you can have your game feeling better, running cleaner, and you are going to have nothing in your way to dominate your game. So we're going to jump right in, starting with the most important thing about settings in Valorant, and that is FPS is king, period. When it comes to a game like Valorant, where you're literally winning or losing duels by mere pixels, you want the fastest response rate possible. This means that we have to have settings and equipment in pursuit of that. First off, let's start with the settings. You're going to want to have all your graphical settings as low as possible. Now, some people can rock with medium, especially if you have a really high-end PC, but for most of us, you're going to want to be having every single thing on low. Also, be sure to be playing the game in full screen mode, not windowed. And you know what? I get it. I understand sometimes you die early in the round and you want to go check out Pornhub or something, but you got to understand that if you put it in windowed mode, you're actually limiting your FPS because it doesn't optimize for specifically the game and it's not prioritizing the game. So if you want to alt tab, just make sure that you pop back into full screen afterwards. Now, remember we talked about pursuing the highest frame rate possible, the highest refresh rate, and for that, you're going to want to have a 144 hertz monitor. Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, hey, I don't have the money, I don't have the computer to run it, and I just can't get it at this point. Now, that's okay. You can still climb to high rank without it. It's just something that you should do whatever you can to get. Whether that means freaking mowing a yard or two on the weekend, I don't care what you got to do, because honestly, playing with bad tools in a game is like trying to freaking play baseball with a goddamn wiffle ball bat. It's just not going to work out. I want you to have equipment that is going to set you up for success. So in that regard, I would highly suggest you make sure to get past that 60 hertz monitor. Now, something that is extremely important to do and kind of funny is make sure that you go into your actual settings in your computer and enable your 144 hertz monitor. One of my friends is probably going to get pissed at me for even telling the story, but he's the one who convinced me to get a 144 hertz monitor in the first place because he said it was amazing. I got it, and while I was setting up my monitor, he realized he never had his 144 hertz monitor enabled at all, and it was just all placebo. So after he actually turned it on, he was just like even mega cracked because he climbed to Grandmaster in Overwatch with a bad monitor. Anyways, that's a completely different story. I just think it's very important to make sure that you buy that monitor, make sure you turn it on so you don't spend like many years, you know, playing with a shit monitor when you're thinking it's amazing. Thousands of people have already climbed 3+ ranks since using the GameLeap service, and you can too. Go check it out right now down below, but let's jump back into the video. Now, the last setting that we're going to talk about outside of game is enhanced ported precision. You got to make sure to turn this off in your mouse settings. This is basically mouse acceleration, where your mouse is going to move faster proportional to the speed at which you move. Very bad and not suggested for consistency's sake. No pros have this on. Definitely turn it off before anything else unless you're someone very particular and you really know what you're doing. As a second note to that, we need to talk about your mouse. Specifically, you want to have a mouse that has a limited amount of buttons and is as light as possible. Look for mice under 100 grams, and especially for a game like Valorant, you do not need a lot of buttons on your mouse at all. You don't want like a League of Legends mouse that just has like freaking 10+ buttons, maybe only 2 on your mouse. And realistically, you should be trying to bind these as little as possible. It's going to help your aim, because every time you put pressure to press a button, you're actually inadvertently altering the pressure you're putting on the mouse itself, which could hurt your aim. So definitely keep that in mind. Now, as far as Crosshair is concerned, I'm not going to give you specific examples, but there are many different crosses you can choose from. But the 3 that I would highly suggest is either a dot, a small cross with a small gap in between, or a cross with no gap that is incredibly small, just to be used as a point of reference, but nothing blocking your field of view. Now, a setting that you can actually enable is movement and accuracy for your crosshair. If you specifically are having trouble with counter strafing, you're a newer player or a low rank player, and you know that you are just not being first shot accurate, turn this setting on specifically for playing something like free-for-all, and it can allow you to get a hang for counter strafing a lot quicker. Now, the next thing that we need to talk about is the graphics tab. Now, every single thing needs to be set at the lowest setting or be turned off except for multi-threaded rendering. Now, multi-threaded rendering is going to help your computer, but all other options and all other settings are just 100% not. Things like VSync, improved clarity, bloom, I mean, the list goes on and on. Basically, every single one of these should be off or turned to the minimum amount. Now, there are going to be some settings that might be hyper specific for your computer and your niche settings, but that's going to depend on if you know what you're doing and if that criteria fits you. you, but for everyone else, just turn all this shit off. Now, we do need to talk about Nvidia Reflex, which is an option enabled to all non-AMD graphics cards, and you're just going to want to have this on basically no matter what. You want to have it on as long as you don't have an AMD graphics card. But if you have a 2060 or better, what I would call high-end, you're going to want to turn on the on plus boost. That's going to give you a little bit better performance, but if it doesn't, experiment around with the on versus the on plus reflex mode. Now, some helpful settings that you can really turn on, I would highly suggest turning on client FPS and round trip time. So you're going to be able to see your ping, and in that moment, you're going to be able to see, hey, my ping is spiking, something's wrong with my internet, and you can also see consistencies in the way that you take duels depending on what your ping is at in any given mode. Let's say you're playing with a buddy, and sometimes you have like 80 ping, and sometimes you have 40, depending on what server you'll get put on. You can kind of take note of what is happening in any given team fight and moment. So you have research data to know how your ping affects your engagements. And then of course that client FPS is going to know when, hey, your computer is really dipping down on FPS. Maybe there's a reason why. You have things open in the background, something's not shutting, you got a virus from many of the files that you downloaded, I don't know, whatever the case may be. Having this setting on will help you identify when you're having an inconsistency in your frame rate, which is definitely going to help you. Now, if you enjoyed this video that was short and sweet and to the point, smash that like button for the algorithm and go check out the GameLeap website if you want more. Thank you so much for coming by. I hope you enjoyed the video. Love your faces, and I'll see you next time.